My career sucks.
Sex just isn't the same.
What's my purpose?
Where did this fat come from?
My relationship is killing me.
I'll never be happy.
My debt is piling up. I'll never find love. Why can't I be like other gay guys? Hey guys, it's time to get a grip, stop whining, make a bold move, and do something amazing with your 40-plus gay life. Let's get to the show with your Tell It Like It Is host, Rick Clemons, who does his best to never act like a dick or a diva unless you act like one first.
Happy Pride. Yes, guys, once again, it is time for 40 Plus Gay Men Gay Talk, and we are in the middle of Pride season. Even if they don't want us to have Pride, we're doing it no matter what, and I'm so excited for the month and the lineup that we've got, and today's guest is special. Not that they all aren't, but there's some longevity in the story. There's a book that tells a really great story about I'm not going to say a whole lot about it, but I'm excited because this is a guy who has been in our world, living his gay life with even his beloved for a significant amount of time, gone through some of the biggest stuff that could possibly be considered pride-oriented stuff. He's written a book called The Story of Bob, which we're going to get into and talk about why that story was so important. His name is Stephen C. Law, and he is a Massachusetts resident with a story to tell. He's got a beautiful art gallery that he and his beloved put together before he lost his lovely, lovely, lovely partner. And today I want to celebrate pride. I want to celebrate stories. I want to celebrate longevity of being really in relationships. And I want to make sure that no matter what's happened in the world, what's going down around us in our LGBTQ communities, we are here and we deserve to be seen and heard. So let's dive in. Stephen, welcome to the podcast. I'm blessed to have you here, my friend. I can't wait to see where we go with this conversation.
Me too. And I'm very happy to be here. And I would only add to the introduction that, I really feel this real sense of pride that you're offering up to all that are listening. We're not here to be just tolerated. We're here to be celebrated. Okay,
see, he's already quoting good stuff, folks, and just throwing it out there. I love that. We're not here to be tolerated. We're here to be celebrated. What an awesome quote. So why does that resonate with you, Stephen, so much? Why do you feel that deep in yourself?
The whole celebration part?
Yep.
I think the reason I think it means so much to me is that we live in families where it seems that we're tolerated. We live in cultures it seems that we're tolerated. We live in communities sometimes in which I'm not sure we tolerate each other all that much. And I think we sort of get used to the idea that toleration is what we're going to get. That's all we're deserving somehow. And I don't want to get theological on you, but I think we're all created in the image of God, very special people if you hold such ideas. And each of us are unique in our character and our personality. Carl Jung and others sort of thought about that a lot. Our point is to be our unique self as we are on this earth. And that is no small matter. And we are no small people. We are important in our own personalities and our own evolution as people. And we have a part to play in this world that is not just to be tolerated. Is to be celebrated. The more I look around, the more I see young people coming into their life, some of them raising children, taking full responsibility for vocations, leaders in our country, even right now in political places. We're coming into our own in our leadership and our capacities, and I'm happy to be a part of that before I'm dead.
That's such a beautiful thing, because I think sometimes we forget we're all unique. Yes, there's tons of similarities, okay? But the uniqueness, and it's so interesting, years and years ago when I was first starting to work on this brand of who is Rick as a gay life coach and, all that sort of stuff, the coming out coach, this 0.1 uniqueness kept showing up. And I tried to build something out of it, but there's like this 0.1 difference in all of us. That's it. Yes, we look different in our body, but when you get down to the DNA and that little tiny bit that changes everything, it's 0.1%. but yet that is the thing to be celebrated. And I realize we are in a space and time right now where LGBTQ plus rights are on the line. We're being, but we've been through these battles before. I know for you were told me before we came on the air, like you were with your partner for 45 years. You all have seen some of the best and the worst of like, how do we get to this space? So I know you're a man of God. You've been a pastor. What has kept you going through all of these trials and tribulations over the years, Stephen?
Well, the truth of it is, and this is going to sound sentimental, and I apologize if it does, um, saying yes to the opportunity of love that was in front of me with
Mm,
Donald was the most important decision of my life. That our personalities were such and our intelligence and such, we were soulmates, I guess,
mm,
for lack of a better way of putting it. We could allow two sets of curiosities to be in a household
mm.
and be observing the world together and it being continual source of fascination for both of us. It's not as if we agreed about every little thing. We didn't. We
Right.
wouldn't. No one would. But would I take his point of view before I would take most anybody else's into account? Sure, I would. And did he open my eyes to things I was probably blind to? Sure, he did. Do I miss him with every breath I take? Of course I do.
Of course.
And so that, to have 45 bliss-filled years with one person is a pretty remarkable thing to have happen, and it's defining.
Mm,
And as I had mentioned to you before, that with the love that we shared for one another, and it wasn't just a physical thing,
mhm,
it was it was a respect of character.
mm.
It was a respect of vocation as well. So character and vocation all intertwined. We were disciplined people. We went to
Yeah.
school. We buckled down. We made the grade.
Mm,
We got ourselves into our vocations and did our best to thrive in them, and we supported each other in them. And well, when we were together, it was like the wagons were circled around us.
mm.
Pop, nothing could touch us. Pop,
Wow.
mean-spiritedness couldn't touch us. Political enmity and rancor
Mm.
could not touch us. At the end of the day, we were looking at each other and thinking, wow, we've just had another wonderful day together. And I know that sounds really selfish.
I don't think
I
it
don't
sounds
know.
selfish. I think it sounds very self-aligned, self-aware, in tune with each other. And yes, I've been with my husband going on 25 years. So it's not roses. Okay. Let's go there. Not every day is roses.
Oh,
But what you just said, that I love that phrasing of the curiosities of two, because you continue to explore as a couple, number one, and as individuals, and see the world through different lenses. My husband is like, he's good with like looking at the political stuff. I'm like, I'm just done. I can't. I just, so I lean into him to like, so what's the updates? Tell me what's going on. Sometimes he gets really annoyed. Like, you could read the news. I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to be there, right? But then
yeah,
there's other things that I find that are really fascinating that I share with him. And I think this is the beauty of when you find that beautiful balance and you see each other as like, we're a unit, right? And I know very similarly that I feel alive, aligned, safe. And as your words, kind of the wagons are circled around us
yeah.
through everything that could happen,
Isn't that beautiful?
and it is really beautiful. And I hope whoever is listening to this doesn't go, well, I don't have a guy. You have friends, you have a community. As long as we stay in our community, and I'm not saying only stay in the LGBT, but as long as we stay solid in our community, they're going to have a really hard time doing whatever they think they need to do to rid us from the planet, because we've been around too long. Let's just be
Yeah.
realistic. But it's been here forever and ever and ever, as long as humanity has been in place. And I know as a writer, some of your passion and compassion and your drive and everything is what shows up in your work.
Thank
And
you.
I want to start to step into the beautiful storytelling of what you did in the story of Bob. So because there's empathy in there. I don't know. There's a lot in there, the bits that I've been able to read. What was the driver behind bringing the story of Bob into being on the planet?
Well, I wish I could say that it was one thing, but I was in a state of transition. So sometimes transitions are remarkable in their own right and because they produce opportunities that we couldn't imagine for ourselves. So it was at a time about 20 years ago when I was a bit frustrated with church life for various reasons, not worth getting into here. These are small points of ecclesiology that I was wrestling with. Uh, I'm glad to, say more if you wish. But at the same time, preaching as a form of communication was becoming a bit limiting to me because it was only, I don't know, worthwhile within a church community. It didn't seem to have much effect outside of a church community. So, and I was also waking up to the opportunity of learning about short fiction with C. Michael Curtis, who was the editor at the Atlantic Monthly for 50 years.
Wow.
Take that in.
Yes.
And he was responsible for the short fiction that ended up on the pages of the Atlantic. And he was teaching a creative writing course in Concord, Massachusetts. And he invited me to join that group. And I was learning about story. About that time, Bob's Reverend Wood's lover, Hugh, they had been together for 26 years, died. And I read an article in the paper about that death. And I was still a pastor, so I spoke to my beloved about Robert Wood. And I said, maybe this guy could use a visit, a pastoral visit. That's what, when we're doing our best work as pastors, we're showing up for people at the time of devastation.
Yes.
And so I called Reverend Wood out of the blue. I said, would you like a visit? He said that he would, and I went up there. He was living in Havenwood Heritage Heights in Concord, New Hampshire, just an hour and a half away from here. And of course, when I went in, the grief that was confronting him about his loss of Hugh was in the room. He was in tears. He was devastated. And I was in the pastoral role of a listener, of someone, recognizing that someone was in deep devastation and grief, and just trying to be prayerful, helpful, anything that I could do to just show sympathy, empathy, concern for his well-being. Present in the room that day was a lot of regret for those two. Unlike you and me, Rick, they had made different decisions. They made decisions to live apart because they were afraid that by living together, they couldn't keep their jobs. So they had all these years of a life together the same way that you and I had, but they gave up, during the week, the opportunity to say goodnight, to hold hands, to make meals with one another, to have family. All those years, they gave all that up, and it was really present for him on that time of devastation, time he could not get back. Moments that they dropped holding hands because they feared being an embarrassment. Moments when they denied their relationship because they're afraid they were going to get fired. All those days, all those minutes, all those moments they could never get back, and he was devastated and full of sadness about them.
Just hearing you say that, to me, is one of the most compelling reasons to realize we are not to be tolerated this way. There is no reason for us to hide who we are. And the simplest thing, like why would you deny someone the ability to make dinner with their loved one, to have a moment of solitude, for God's sakes, to have a really good argument that's like, we really do love each other because we could just really get past it, and I get it was, and I hate to say it, yes, I understand it was a different time and everything, But I remember living through this myself. I mean, I'm 62 and I started to come out right at the beginning of the AIDS epidemic. And then I went back in the closet, and to hear you say these moments, these seconds, these minutes that they were deprived, I can really relate to that because I'm so grateful for why I went back in the closet in so many ways, because I have two beautiful grown daughters that are part of my legacy. But there are moments, Stephen, that I go, but what did I still miss? Now, there's not regret at this point. There, I've worked through the regret piece. Every once in a while, it shows up. It's going to. But I love that you went and you ministered to him in this way and heard this pain and this angst of what was missed. And I hope anybody that's listening, this is why we celebrate Pride. Don't miss the moments. Don't miss the moments. So you met with him.
Yeah.
Then was this the beginning of thinking, I need to write the story? I need to bring this to fruition? Or did that take a few more years?
Well, irony is this. When you're meeting someone for the first time and you're the listener, you know this well because of your own role. I can tell already you're an empath.
Mm-hmm.
So you do a lot of listening, and that's fine, and you're used to that. Well, in this case, he did ask a few questions about me.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him I was learning about writing and that I was, in a relationship with Donald. He proposed the idea of writing a book to honor his love for Hugh. So it was the grief itself
Wow.
that brought about the idea for the book.
That's
It was the
amazing.
grief itself. It was the actual disillusionment he felt, the sadness he felt about all those moments that I just described. That was the impetus for the book. Now, at the same time, he had an idea about himself as being important in the gay rights movement,
Mm-hmm.
and he was not giving him, but I didn't know him from
Right.
Adam.
Right.
And I didn't know he had written a book 9 years before Stonewall called Christ and Homosexual. I knew nothing about it. So
Wow.
he then said to me, would you be interested in writing a book about my life? He gave me these details, and I said, give me six, let me talk to Mike about it. So I went, asked Mike if he would meet me in Boston. Mike said, you can do this. I see you writing. Don't sell yourself short. Don't make any promises about publication
Right.
because that would be
That's
misleading.
a whole ball game in and of itself.
Ask for 6 months to see if there's a compelling story that you want to spend 6 years of your life writing.
Mm.
And if there is, sign up and do the work. No,
Yeah.
no way around doing work. You know that, Rick.
Yep.
The only way to do work is to do work.
Yes.
So I asked for 6 months. He gave me 6 months, and I utilized that 6 months to ask a very simple question that was predicated on my idea or my understanding of short fiction. Short fiction being a series of causally linked events that lead to transforming moments.
Mm.
This is Mike Curtis being
Yeah.
channeled
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. So you read Flannery O'Connor, any of the great writers, and you'll see how they've organized, crafted causally linked events and how characters undergo transformation. It's really points of wonder. I was so alive in all that awareness and learning about all that. And I said, well, if it could happen for fiction, it could certainly be applied to someone's life in real terms.
Yep.
So I met with Bob in the first week and I asked him the question, what events of your life hold emotional weight? Rick, I'm going to ask
Mm.
you right now. Name one. Name one event in your life that holds emotional weight.
Uh, Recently losing a full-time job that I really enjoyed for 7 years. Lots of emotional weight there.
So you can get the idea as a writer to come into the terrain of someone's life and you get a series of events that hold emotional weight. You can begin to see the characters that populate the story.
Yes.
You can go and interview them, as I did all over the Northeast. You can verify the facts then with hard material that he has on hand, war diaries, sermons, all sorts of hard materials that are
Yep.
dated, and you have verification of the truth of it from the interviews you do with others,
Yep.
and then somehow the narrative evolves. And in our case, it evolved in the third person in the beginning, but after a few years in the third person, there were some problems remaining on the page. This may just be too much for people to hear, but there were competing voices, one.
Yep.
And if you are living from the greatest generation or you've dealt with people coming back from war in general, sometimes their emotions are shut down and they don't have access to their feeling life or the internal life. So
Well, and
those
sometimes
two,
they don't know even how to access that. They
they
have it,
don't,
but they feel like they have to hide it because if they show it, it's going to be too much. It's going to be, I'm going to be weak because I feel these things. It's so interesting that we're having this conversation because I was coaching someone through some very heavy stuff yesterday, and they kept bringing up this conversation about the mental load, the mental load, the mental load that I feel. And I think
wow.
that's exactly what you're expressing here is this mental load of the emotions. And if we don't allow ourselves to access them and give ourselves permission to feel them and emote them, we're actually doing ourselves more damage.
So there it is. And so in this case, when you're in you're in a narrative moment, you're writing, actual writing, and these problems exist on the page. The way around it was to start a narrative from the third person, move it from the third person to the first person. Once it was in the first person, when it came to the feelings, I
Yes.
made it up,
Hmm.
just like it was a fiction writer.
Hmm.
Then I took the chapters to Bob and I said, I need you to read this out loud to me. And when he did, and he would get to those points in which he could not articulate feelings, he had to read what I had written as my imagination
Hmm.
imagined them.
Yep.
Every single time he began to weep,
Hmm.
and he would always say, "You got it right."
Wow.
And that was my confirmation that, we had arrived home at the emotional truth as well
Hmm.
as you know, the truth or the verifiable truth of the circumstances of his life.
It's so
So,
interesting when we arrive, as you just said, at that emotional truth. It's very confronting. And anybody listening, this. When you have that emotion, like I'm in a breakup, or I'm losing a job, or I've lost a family member or a friend to whatever. Um, that emotional truth is painful, joyous, exciting, scary, all those things wrapped up. Yet, what a beautiful thing that we've been given as a creation by a creator to be able to experience these things. And so many
all I can
people
say
shy
is,
away from it.
all I can say is amen. I mean, that's so perfectly said, Rick. It's
Hmm.
just beautifully articulated. It's true what you're saying.
Well, and I feel like, and I don't feel like I'm like saying that to like, oh, look at this wise thing, but there is some wisdom that I've grown through because I used to not experience that. People used
Well,
to say, "Oh my God, you look mad all the time." I was mad all the time because I was hiding who I was and I was pretending and I was code switching back and forth trying to make this all work together, right?
mhm.
And then even right after I came out, I was still like in that hesitation space until I'm like, I'm not living if I'm not living. So I'm going to go live. And yes, I'm going to be afraid. I'm going to be scared at times. I'm going to be joyous and all these sort of things. But I feel like the thing that is most prevalent for me in my stage of life at this point is nobody can tell me I can't get to experience what I choose to experience. That's just the way I look at it. I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, but if I choose to experience love with a man, I choose to experience that love. If I choose to experience, feelings around what's going on in politics, I get to choose to experience that, but I'm not going to hide what I'm feeling. And too
That's
often
beautiful.
we do that, and then that's when the hurt shows up.
Yeah. Not only the hurt, here's the thing it's arrested development. Because
Mm-hmm.
if you don't allow yourself to move into your authentic space to experience what you're feeling authentically, you arrest yourself at whatever point you are.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so I can say to people today, having had 45 years with a person that I've loved,
Which is amazing in and of itself.
you don't know what love is yet,
Mm-hmm.
young people.
Yep.
You think that the love that you feel that's predicated on hormones and sexual pleasure, I'm not taking anything away from that. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, I still have great memories of it. I wouldn't trade
Mm-hmm.
it for all the tea in China.
Right.
And it brings great delight to my mind and memory to remember the blissful sexual union I had with this amazing human being. But also understand that Donald and I had a code. And you'll love this, Rick, I think. Our toast to one another
Mm-hmm.
throughout our 45 years was biology wins.
Mm.
When we started
Wow.
using it at the beginning of our life, it was when I was in pastoral ministry, he was a physician. If we came home that day and one of us said biology wins, it was a code to the other one, don't ask.
Mm.
I don't want to bring the sadness into our home, which I want to protect. One of us obviously had lost, he either lost a patient or I lost a parishioner.
Mm.
And we were taking in the emotions of that, right? But for us to say biology wins in those days meant just give me some space. I'll be processing this in a day or two. I'll be myself again. There's no need for you to endure this pain with me, really. Just be patient with me. As we were growing older and biology was taking things away from us physically,
Mm-hmm.
which we had no control over,
Right.
it's one of the wonders of life how you compensate.
Mm-hmm.
We began to realize that biology wins meant we may not be here forever. It was our own mortality showing up. And what was so beautiful, we learned to lean into that so much so that we came to understand something about tenderness. This is the only way I can articulate it. And I'm starting to write about this a little bit, but we came to understand something about tenderness. In other words, Rick, we could sit in the room together and we would not have to say a word
Mm-hmm.
and we would not have to move physically. And the tenderness would be so present that all the words of Shakespeare could not do it justice.
Yes.
And it was a form of love that was so sublime. It was so much more powerful than anything that we experienced in our younger days that was like 3 minutes in a cigarette.
Mm.
whatever,
Exactly.
whatever,
Exactly.
whatever your rituals are. I don't want
Right.
to, but it just is love
There is
itself.
something that was delicious back in those days. Like, okay, I just got off. Now let's have a cigarette, right?
Something,
And yeah,
whatever
it's so interesting. So
whatever your
interesting.
rituals are. But I'm just saying that if you're not giving yourself over to your authentic expression, you don't have the benefit of understanding what you can evolve to. And I promise you, Rick, what's your lover's name? Your
George.
husband? George.
George.
I promise you that if you are together in another 20 years, that you will experience what I'm telling you if you're not
Mhm.
already experiencing it
Oh
now.
no,
You
we are.
will
We
not
already
have to
are. Yep.
you will not have to speak. You won't even have to gesture. You will
Some of
just feel it.
some of our most precious, blissful moments, I feel like, and I think he would probably say the same thing. So many people know we live mid-state California. So we escape to go to theater and stuff. We'll go to LA. That's the closest place. And it's a 3-hour drive. And it's a beautiful drive. I mean, it's all along the California coast, goes a little inland and everything. That 3-hour drive, 95% of the time, has less than 10 or 15 minutes of conversation. But there we are, just us, just being. Now, granted, one of us, if whoever's driving is paying attention, the other one may be on the phone, but there's this beauty of I'm enjoying that they're relaxing and doing what they want to do. There isn't anything that has to be said. Yes, we have conversation, but it isn't like, oh, we got to contrive all this, because we're secure enough with who we are,
Yeah.
to just be. And it happens all many times in the evenings too. We'll sit down, and sometimes we watch TV, we get our TV fix in, but a lot of times, like last evening was one of those times when we watched a show and I'm like, I'm tired. And I flipped the TV off and we were just sitting, and sitting. Nothing was being said. Now, he had a rough day, so we don't have our code word, but I kind of knew he'd had a rough day, and I knew he was going to hop on the Peloton bike and do his workout. And I was kind of like, okay, well, I wanted to like go for a walk or something, but I knew he needed the space, right? And I said, I'm going to go for a walk and I'm going to leave you to it. And that's all I said. It was like, I'm just like, because I knew, and I took an extra long walk last night because I'm like, he needs this time to like process, be with himself. And the last thing he needs is, well, tell me what went wrong. No. So yes, you're right. These are these beautiful spaces. And I think one of the gifts that we as elders in our LGBTQ community, and I hope there's some younger guys. I mean, I know there's younger guys who listen to this podcast, even though it's 40 plus. Even as a 40-year-old, I'm going to invite you to step into the bliss of silence. Step into the space of being with someone and nothing having to be said.
Yeah.
It is magical.
Magical.
It's empowering, I feel like.
Yeah. And it does, it just makes meaningless all the nonsense that gets talked about around the issues.
Yes.
It just makes it meaningless.
Yeah.
And I think to myself, for those people who are hell-bent on finding a reason to judge us, I would like to say to them, why don't you take a look at your own sexuality and your own capacity for intimacy, if it exists? And why don't you focus on your relationship with your wife or husband?
Yes.
And leave us the hell alone.
Yes.
Because we're doing okay.
Yes.
We don't need your approval. We don't need you to dismiss us. We don't need anything you have to offer to us unless you have something positive to say.
But it's so interesting. It is so interesting, Stephen, that you bring this up, because as a gay life coach who helps people, I've helped hundreds of men through the coming out journey later in life. One of the consistent things that has occurred is between them and their wife, there is no relationship. There's no sex. There's no intimacy. There's getting through life. We're roommates. In fact, I can't tell you, it's not a huge majority, but it's a significant amount of those people who weren't even sleeping in the same bed together as this whole thing was unraveling. And some of them hadn't slept in the same bed together for 5 or 7 years. Now, I'm not saying you have to be in a bed, but there's something intimate about still sleeping with that person. And then you wonder why this is happening. It's not because you didn't give him sex. It's because he finally realized he has to be true to himself. And I agree with you 100%. I wish people would quit worrying about what is going on in my bedroom, because I'm not worrying about what's going on in your bedroom. Exactly. I hope you're having blissful intimacy and great sex and quiet time together. But when I see heterosexual couples who are so bent on that, I'm like, I think you need to go check your own bedroom and see what's going on there.
And one of the beautiful things about being observed over a long period of time, Donald and I held season tickets at the Boston Symphony for forever. So we had the same seats, still do. And when we would go, of course, we were listening to music, and again, our hearts were hearing what's taking in.
Yes.
Sometimes a musical phrase, we could both feel it. It was strange. It was just like someone loving art in the same way. It's strange and beautiful. Our hands would involuntarily go to one another in that concert hall. We were surrounded by people that had been going to that same concert hall on the same day many, many more years than us.
Yep.
When Donald died, and I went to the first concert after his death, of course I was undone, same way Reverend Wood was. Yep. I couldn't keep my composure. The music itself was a source of deep connection emotionally. It may have been Fauré Requiem or something beautiful like that. But then I just felt this hand on my shoulder, right?
Mm-hmm.
People that sat behind us all these years that we never had a conversation with, heterosexual couple.
Mm-hmm.
Turned out that one was a physician and one was a congregational minister, same as us.
Wow. That's
And
amazing.
and suddenly the hand was on my shoulder of recognizing that the person that I had been coming with all those years wasn't present. And I think the whole section understood my grief. And it was not a gay thing or a straight thing. It was human. And I felt really loved and supported in that. Like as I
But
do in the community in which I live, Rockport is not particularly like Provincetown. It's just we don't have a gay, what we'd call a gay population here. I'm sure there's a few of us around,
sure. But it's
but
just that piece of just being seen as a human,
yeah,
right? In that moment, you were seen as a human.
right. And it
Being
continues
seen
to
as
be the
something that
case.
was, yeah. And I love our gay rights and pushing for everything. But I also feel like sometimes the best thing we can do is just be seen.
Just be seen.
Just show up.
Just show up and to be kind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ourselves, to be
Yep.
recognizing how we can be loving toward other people. And of course, I'm asked to lead worship here from time to time in the Unitarian Church, so I say yes. And
Mm-hmm.
I have a gallery that I keep open, and I greet people there all the time. I think I bring a kind
Mm-hmm.
attitude, a welcoming attitude to anyone that comes into our village. I try to be loving
Mm.
to everybody. But my friends here are basically heterosexual because Donald and I never chose our friendships based on what people did in
Right.
bed.
Yep.
We chose them on mutual interests.
Yep.
So
Mutual interest and people who aligned in values that are similar and all of that stuff. And I think it's
yeah,
so important, especially in this pride season. I think what you just said is it's a poignant way to like encourage our own as you go and celebrate pride. And
yeah,
I love pride season. I think it's great, but also remember this is not a competition to demean each other. See
yeah.
each other, love each other, be kind. Just because some guy or gal decides to dress a certain way for pride, it may not be the way you choose to, but embrace them, love them, see them. This is their uniqueness showing up in their way that fits for them. Doesn't mean it has to fit for you. And too often I see our community judging one another and going, really? This is not what pride and celebration is all about. You
That's
are stepping into that place of, okay, I'll tolerate you, but I'm not going to celebrate you because of this. And I think it's really unfortunate that a community who has struggled and continues to fight to be seen, heard, understood, loved, and have experienced empathy tends to be the worst at doing that with our own. And I'm hoping through this conversation today and sharing the wisdom and the journeys and the stories that Stephen's been sharing, that you each feel this, because it is a time to see each other and love each other. Because if we don't see
definitely,
each other and love each other, there's the open door for them to go, see, they're fractured. So if we
yeah.
can get them divided, we can't be divided at this space and time. So
Well,
as we,
one of the great things I learned about writing about Reverend Wood was, this whole audience can laugh at me, but how this is going to come out, was that he represented in his own life circumstances a point of view about sexual and personal life experiences that I didn't have.
mm,
So it took me, for instance, from my little New England village and my comfort here to the sadomasochistic subculture
mm,
of New York City.
yep,
And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not in Kansas anymore.
exactly.
I'm not in, I'm in a
A
whole other
completely different
way
way. Mm-hmm.
of looking at how human beings are signing to one another what they need sexually. They are wearing blue jeans and belts that are tooled and cowboy hats,
Yep.
and they're doing things and signaling to one another what it is that they desire. And part of me, of course, that wasn't my thing, and I wasn't judgmental of it. at all. I was curious about it, and that's what a writer has to be.
Yes.
Always has to be curious and non-judgmental. But the thing is that I stayed open-minded to it, and I think I got the story right.
Mm.
When readers go there, they're going to see that they're not reading. I don't know. We're a vastly different group of people, is what I
Yes.
learned. There's not
Yes.
one gay human being that is the same as another one,
Mm.
or lesbian,
Hmm.
bisexual, transgender. All of us are different.
Yep.
Even if you identify with a subset, you're
Yes.
unique within that subset.
Absolutely.
And I just find that that's something that we could all get used to, as you're saying. And the more we stay open-minded and curious as opposed to judgmental, the better off we can be at laughing at ourselves, discovering what we have to offer that maybe we can learn from.
Hmm.
I find it just a point of mystery and wonder.
Yes.
Um,
I love the curiosity of understanding other human beings.
yeah,
Doesn't mean I have to be them. I just love the exploration, and
uh,
especially I think because as I'm getting older too, the curiosity of what's next and the curiosity of what can I leave behind. Well, how can I leave behind? And it's always interesting to work with somebody who's just beginning the journey of coming out and, well, what do I need to do? What's the blueprint? I'm like, just be yourself. Just
perfect.
show up, because there is no one way to do this. Yes, I can share experiences and I can guide and challenge them. I mean, my biggest challenge when I'm working with somebody, Stephen, and for everyone listening, it's to invite you to do it your way, to literally step into doing it the way that makes you feel alive, that makes you feel good, that makes you feel comfortable in your own skin. Because how I did it, how Stephen's done it, that's what worked for each of us.
Yeah,
But the beauty of the uniqueness of the experience and how you get to show up and be on the planet is the reason that you do not need to be tolerated and you need to be celebrated. And
yeah,
I'm so glad we got to have this conversation today, Stephen,
yeah.
in the midst of Pride season, in the midst of really, I mean, I'm going to keep coming back to that. Not be tolerated, just celebrated. I'm going to keep saying that. It's going to go on the marketing for this show. I just feel like it is such a powerful thing. This is why we should be celebrating. So,
I'm
again, the
glad you
book
resonate with
is,
that.
yes, I do. And the book is The Story of Bob. I would encourage everybody to get a copy of it, read it, enjoy it. I can't wait to see what else you write and bring onto the planet as part of your legacy, Stephen. And he's got a beautiful art gallery in his hometown that he and his loved one, his beautiful, it was Michael, right? Or Donald. Donald was your
Donald. Yeah,
Donald that you built, and so there's lots of beautiful ways to connect with Stephen and to
yeah.
experience him and his work and his love. So
And
thank
like
you,
the
sir.
book was born was when Bob was in a point of grief. When I was at a point of
Mm-hmm.
grief, a foundation was born.
Mm-hmm.
And the foundation has to do with encouraging compassionate care in medicine
Mm-hmm.
and helping people living longer. That's you and me, Rick. Stay
Yes.
at home
Yeah.
as long as we can.
Yes. Exactly.
And so it's called the Lost Stroud Foundation. So
Mm-hmm.
that whole business of legacy that you're naming is what I'm about on a daily basis with a
He's
group of a board of directors who are amazing. And I think we've given away almost, I don't know, well, we transformed a medical school already, Tufts Medical School,
wow.
and we are working daily to do fundraising to make sure that people who need medical care receive compassionate care when they get to a doctor's
Mm.
office and not just are treated like data points.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's amazing. Well, you got so much beautiful things you're bringing into the world, leaving in the world. Thank you for being part of this conversation. Thank you for
Went by
showing up for
fast.
Pride. And
Yeah.
everybody go out and have an enjoyable Pride. But please, 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 I'm going to go back to it one more time. You are not on the planet to be tolerated. You are on the planet to be celebrated. And I want everybody to celebrate that. Go have a wonderful Pride season, everyone. We'll be back next week with another episode of 40 Plus Gay Men Gay Talk. Got one more coming, I think, for Pride. Maybe one extra. We always kind of do a one on each end of the month that's extra. But again, Stephen, Thank you so much for being here and being part
Thank you,
of
Rick.
the
And
conversation.
thank you for what you do to create a safe space for people to discover their individuality and to prosper in the world. I'm so proud of what you do. And I know it's going to impact people like you can't even imagine. So
Thank
I'm
you.
proud to be a part of it.
Me too. I'm proud to be able to do what I get to do. It's one of my greatest joys. So, all right, everybody, go have a great week. We'll catch you next week. Take care.
Take care.
That's a wrap for 40 Plus. Gay men, gay talk, where size doesn't matter. We drop our bullshit, get over our screwed up fears, make bold moves, and live life without apologies. Don't forget to join us on Facebook at 40 Plus, Gay Men, Gay Talk, where the conversations continue.